Hello, everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here on the Life After D podcast. It's December 14th, 2020. Almost done with the year. We got 2 weeks till 2021, and maybe things change here. I'm here with Emily Robinson. I don't know if I forgot to say that. Obviously, I was kind of like looking at my background. And I'm here with Emily Robinson. We're gonna go over some divorce stuff here. How's it going, Emily?
I'm good. It's going well. I'm working from home today. Got my puppy in the background. He's napping on the sofa, keeping me company, and just trying to stay home as much as possible.
Yeah, we're here in California, where the governor might get recalled. I hear rumors of that, and it's kind of a wild. I don't know. It's like the wild, wild west. Like I hear some people. There's some, I guess, stay-at-home orders we have, and I talk to police just when I see them, like, hey, what's going on here? What's going on there? When I just see them at takeout, they're like, we're not going to enforce it.
Probably too hard, but yeah, I don't know. Everyone's Christmas plans have been canceled. It's kind of depressing, but really hoping that, the vaccination is able to be given to people soon and it works and we can get back to somewhat normal life.
Yeah, so hopefully we get a vaccine. I don't know if I'd be one of the first ways to take it. I'll let other people see if they grow an extra hand or something. I've heard some side effects. So let's get into it. Let's get into the show. In this part of the show, we're gonna go over divorce news that we see online. Some things reoccurs because we do this week to week, and a lot of it celebrity news that gets weekly updates, and sometimes we like it. Sometimes we kind of have fun with it. So let's see. Today, okay. So remember Erika Jayne, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. There's so many of them I can't even keep track.
I know, right?
Okay, so last week we talked about this. So according to page6.com, I don't know how reputable they are, but Erika Jayne's estranged husband hit with another lawsuit amid divorce. So her ex-husband, or however this works, Tom Girardi can't catch a break. Erika Jayne's estranged husband has been hit with another lawsuit amid their divorce. So Wells Fargo vendor Financial Services is suing Girardi and his law firm, Girardi Keys, for allegedly breaching a written agreement. In conversation with the bank, according to documents obtained by Page 6, the lawsuit filed in Los Angeles Superior Court on December 9th claims Girardi, 81, entered into 5 different lease agreements with the bank, all in which Wells Fargo agreed to finance the lease of office equipment. The bank claimed Girardi and his firm failed to make their monthly payments, which included rental charges, maintenance taxes, overages, late fees, and a purchase option. Girardi and his firm allegedly owe Wells Fargo $882,715 and 52 cents, and the bank is seeking immediate payment. It's also charging 10% interest annually from the date of default. I'm trying to see how this all ties into the divorce. Okay, so the suit also claimed that the couple's divorce was a sham to fraudulently protect Tom and Erika's money from those that seek to collect on debts owed by Tom and his law firm GK, the lawsuit alleged. So we covered this last week, and so now, like, Wells Fargo's coming out, right? They released a document. How does this all I know we covered some of it last week, but now it's kind of like coming to the public. Another vendor who's owed money, and so how does this all work?
Well, it sounds like it was, not necessarily, but according to the article, like some fraudulent scheme to defraud creditors. And This actually can happen a lot with spouses transferring money back and forth between each other to defraud creditors. It happens in bankruptcy. It happens, I see people a lot transferring money to a parent or a sibling to try to hide it from their spouse. But then sometimes spouses will do it to each other to hide it from creditors. People can do prenups or post-marital agreements attempting to hide money from creditors. There's lots of different ways that this could happen. You would hope that a lawyer wouldn't do this because it would be a big ethical violation. However, people are people and it happens in every profession. But yeah, I mean, this would be probably a good way to defraud creditors, because if you claim that you're getting a divorce and the money is going to your spouse, not you, and it's not yours anymore, then they can't necessarily get it, because if they have a judgment against you, they can't necessarily collect from your ex-spouse, because now it's not community money anymore. It's money awarded to your spouse and they're not named in the judgment. So I think that if you can get away with it, it's probably a smart plan to do, but not smart because you're defrauding people. But it's a clever way to try and defraud.
So, like, this guy's a lawyer. Like, he knows, like, I would say the loopholes of the law. So the key is, like, how he would be able to prove that it was like an authentic or a valid divorce. Now, how would you go about it? Because it's in a weird gray area. Because you're like, oh, what's the common thing? Like something like I forget the term, but you would, like, how do you prove that in a weird gray area? Or is there a way?
I'm not sure if you can prove whether something's an authentic divorce or not. I mean, I suppose if they got remarried right after or something, or never went through with it, that would be one way. But we're a no-fault divorce state, so you can get divorced for any reason you want. So it's very hard to prove. I think it would more have to be proven by communications that are found that show this plan, or some evidence that this was what was intended. I think another way to show it would be, community property is divided 50-50 usually. So if for some reason the wife's getting 100% and the husband's getting 0, that looks really fishy. So that that could be a reason to look into it.
Okay. All right. Along that, let's go to our next article, slate.com. I know I'd be happier if I left my marriage. So this person, by Michelle Herman, says, I feel like I'm in a crisis. I have 3 wonderful, adorable young children. For years, I've been unsatisfied in my marriage for very typical reasons. My husband and I have no physical and little emotional intimacy, though we do have a low conflict household. I carry the bulk of the labor in our household concerning all domestic and childcare responsibilities, despite the fact that I work full-time at a stressful career. My husband is impatient with the kids and does not seem to be liking being around them. He snaps at them if they're too loud. For example, I often look at my fathers that seem to plan and enjoy time with their kids and feel jealous. My husband will go if I plan it, but does not enjoy it. I've been asking for all of this to change for years, and it has not. And I've come to believe that the current status quo is what it is going to be forever. We're in counseling, though I do not feel he wants to be in it or invest in it. Despite this, I believe my husband loves me, and I know he wants to stay married. While I believe my husband is a good person, I daydream frequently about leaving this marriage. If we go down here a little bit, if I left financially, I would be comfortable and I would have zero interest in dating. I just want to enjoy my children, my career, and my time to myself when they are with their dad. My question is, am I delusional? Am I selfish? I think about my kids going back and forth between 2 homes, and I'm scared that My happiness will come at their expense. See if we can keep going. So ultimately, if I were divorced, it would be better for them. But is this self-serving? Their happiness is paramount, though I'm also not interested in martyring myself on the altar of motherhood. Is there a better road that I can't see?
Yeah, that's tough. Like there's so many complicated things that go into this. And I think, one of the big reasons for divorce is your spouse doesn't end up being the parent you want them to be. You see them in a different light. You don't have the same type of parenting styles, and it really starts affecting you. Um, I think that it's really important to remember that you can't change people and you have to let people be who they are. And not everybody's going to parent the same way you do or be the exact same person you are. You do your best and they do their best. Obviously, if there's really deep issues there that make it so that you don't feel you can stay with that person, then that's important to explore. But I think when we expect people to meet our perfectionist standards, we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment all the time. And some people are perfectionists and have a very perfectionist view of the world and how things should be. And if your spouse doesn't meet those, then you think you failed or they failed or they're failing your children. But being a parent of young children, I personally think that our children really look up to us. And a lot of these things that we see as failures, they don't see it that way. They just love mommy or love daddy and want to spend time with you. So even if things aren't as perfect as you want it to be, that's not always a reason to call things quits. It may sometimes be, but sometimes you also just have to let people be who they are. And even if it's not how you are, it still may be, adequate, and your children, love that other parent.
Yeah, it seems like it's hard because like you're trapped in a way.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't help myself here. I'm on TMZ. You ever watch that show Smallville?
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't seen it in a long time, but yeah, I know that show.
Yeah. So one of the characters, like I think she was like Lois Lane's. She played Lois Lane's like I think friend in it. Her name is Allison Mack. Okay, so ex Smallville star Allison Mack filed for divorce. Ex Smallville star Allison Mack, who made international headlines for her role in a sex cult, has filed for divorce. TMZ has learned Mack, who starred as Chloe Sullivan on Smallville, filed docs in Orange County Friday to divorce her wife, Nikki Klein. The now estranged couple got married back in 2017, and they didn't have any kids together. Mack, of course, pled guilty to counts of racketeering, conspiracy, and racketeering back in 2019 after prosecutors said she was a pimp for the NXIVM sex cult. She could face up to 40 years behind bars. You'll recall Mack had initially pled not guilty, when she was indicted on sex trafficking charges for her role in the cult led by Keith Rainier. According to the prosecutors, she recruited and directed women, including other actresses, to have sex with Rainier. And so that's the article. Does that have anything to do, I guess, the reason to get divorced, or how do you present that to the court?
Well, it's, again, it's no fault divorce. So that stuff doesn't usually come into play. It can with custody, like if there are custody disputes and you want to show somebody's not a fit parent. Where else it could come in is financially, if somebody was involved in something criminal or inappropriate and they used joint funds to fund it, or or they were having an affair and they used joint funds on the affair, that's money you could get back. And you could say they breached their fiduciary duty to you by wasting community funds on a non-community purpose. So that's where it could come into play. But otherwise, like just as far as being the reason for the divorce, it wouldn't matter because we're no fault here in California.
God, she's such a good actress. Like I thought she was like an innocent like friend, but
I know. Can't be fooled.
she got me. Okay. Okay. Enough with TMZ. In this part of the show, we're gonna go over posts that people put online about, getting started in divorce, things that come up during marriages, and some people just like to kind of rant. So in this part of the show, we're gonna go over it, and Emily's gonna hopefully give some good tips and advice. Not hopefully, but she will. Okay. This first post is terrified of telling my wife I want a divorce. Hi everyone. A bit about me and the situation. This ended up being a longer post, and I apologize. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I'm nervous, scared, and doubting myself. My wife had severe emotional issues, and I'm worried when I tell her I want a divorce, she might end up hurting or trying to kill herself. I'm a male, 30 years old, married for 5 years, together for 6, no kids, 2 pets, a house. Wife has bipolar, anxiety, depression, and possibly ADHD, recently diagnosed with celiac. I've been recently diagnosed with depression. Shortly into our marriage, she started treatment for her mental health and medication. This was a wild ride because while some of the meds had little effect, others made her suicidal. She finally got diagnosed with BPD, bipolar 2, and went on a mood stabilizer, which helped dramatically. But over time, she had meds that has had less and less effect. I supported her going in and out of therapy when she felt like she needed it. The past 5 years of my life have revolved around her mental and emotional health. It didn't matter what I felt. I just wanted to be happy. I started seeing a therapist 6 months ago and have been working through a lot of personal struggles, issues on my own. Over time, I've begun to realize that my marriage was a contributing factor into my depression. Thoughts of divorce started about a year ago when I realized I wasn't happy. I pushed those thoughts aside and tried my best to be a better husband, do more chores, take care of our pets, and just generally try to make sure I could reduce as much stress as possible on her, so she'd be okay. I'm worn out mentally and emotionally. Tried talking about this many times through our marriage on what we can do to change and make each other happy. Right now, she's just started her external, this looks like internship or externship to finish her MA certificate, and she would be done in a month. I don't want to ruin her final steps in getting her certificate so she can get a job, which she really wants. We have a couple counseling appointment this week where I hope to feel safe enough to share my feelings and how I'm done trying. She is a way of making me feel bad and that things are my fault. I don't want my low self-esteem to take over and step back from this. Terrified of her trying to cause self-harm or kill herself. Once I tell her the news, she's been prone to doing it before. I don't know what the next steps will be, or even should be. I don't feel safe expressing things at home. I feel even worse for doing this during the holidays. We're both very religious, and I fear the shame and disappointment of our family and friends.
Wow. Well, this person sounds really thoughtful and like he really is concerned about his wife, and that's really great. Um, and I think it's nice that he's waiting till after her schooling is finished. But when you think that much about somebody else and not about yourself at all, then it ends up draining you. Like he said, he's like drained, and you got to have a balance. You can't put the other person fully ahead of you and never think of yourself. And you can't think only of yourself and never think of the other person. You've got to figure out a way to have a healthy balance. It sounds like they're going to go to counseling, so that's good. But that has to be a priority. You can't only care about them and never think about yourself, because you will burn out and you won't be able to sustain that. And that's not helpful to the other person either.
Okay, next post. This is, similar to getting started in the divorce process. When did you know your spouse wasn't in love with you anymore? I understand this won't apply to everyone, but I figured this was the best place. I feel like my husband has fallen out of love. It seems like anytime we aren't doing something sexually, just scrolling on his phone distant. He never says, I love you first anymore. We never have the conversations we had before. We've been through infidelity on his part early on and worked through it. This feels very different. He seems energetic and excited to talk and spend time with family or friends, but not me trying to discuss this result. And we're fine, but he's the type to say everything is fine and bring up his concern later on when I'm not expecting it. For those of you who watch your spouse fall out of love with you, how did you know? What did it feel like once you started noticing? How long did it take for things to end?
Oh, that's tough. I think it's different for everyone. Different people react differently in situations. So I think that there wouldn't be a generic way to tell. But I do think if they're really struggling to talk about it, then that person needs to get themselves into therapy at least, and get into joint therapy if that's a possibility, if they can get their husband to agree. Um, because otherwise their mind's just going to wander to like the worst case scenario, which may not be true. There might be something else going on that's making him seem distant and all of that. But it's important to find out. And if that's fine is the only answer they're getting and they need more, then a third party is going to need to get involved, like a therapist.
Okay, this is our last post of the day. Let's see. So this one is kind of a venting one, the beginning of the end. Tonight, I went through my drunken wife's text. I own her phone. It's under my account, as I had suspicions in the past. Turns out she's been texting her ex since at least May, which is when she got her current phone, dozens of pages of text, back and forth, starting to plan the exit strategy. Now I have people to help me when the time comes. It took me 39 years to finally open up to someone. 6 years later, I find out just how little that trust was valued. Thankfully, there's a lot of assets to go around. We have no real estate, no children, and even with my 401k appreciation, when the time comes to offset her own retirement account and payout will be minimal, especially since she's currently made as much as I did per hour. In the house that we live in is owned by her family for the past 3 generations, so rent payout is minimal. Just found out. So I guess this is in Connecticut. They have a hybrid view of divorce where, because she was adulterous, I may not be liable for any support regardless, because I'm not a total a-hole. I'm willing to pay for her on my insurance for a period of time. So yeah, how's this work out?
Yeah, that's an example of how different states have different laws, because in some places, adultery might make you lose your alimony, or there may be punishments for it, unlike in California. In California, no matter what, you'd have to pay the alimony whether they were adulterous or not. So, you know, I think that it's always hard to find that out. This person sounds like he's being pretty mature about it and not going to cancel all her benefits and insurance. But yeah, that is something to look out for. You might live in a state where you can get punished for bad conduct like adultery or something like that. And so that's why it's important to know the laws of your state, because every state is different. But in California, it would be irrelevant, unfortunately.
Okay, so that's all the time we have for today. Emily, do you have any kind of tips, advice? I know with the holidays coming up, a lot of things that'll come up.
Yeah, try to enjoy your holidays and hopefully be able to put some of the stress of divorces or whatever else you're going through to the side and get to just have some quiet, peaceful time. I know a lot of people are sad they can't visit family. Hopefully, you can do some nice stuff with immediate family or immediate friends. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And hopefully everybody stays safe.
I want to get on a flight, but it's like to go on an island, but
Me too.
too risky. So, thanks everyone for joining us on the Life After D podcast. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.